Tonight, many South Australian schools shocked to find they'll be forced to amalgamate with no consultation.
Large schools have failed in the UK and the US, so much so that they were seen a movement back to community schools in those countries.
The Rann government in turmoil as Police Minister Michael Wright fires off both barrels over moves to dump him for generational change.
There are certain members in the right who I think have behaved poorly, and I think it's been an act of bastardry.
And Neil Craig tells us exclusively from Gold Coast pre-season training why he doesn't want a long-term coaching contract with the Crows.
This is 10 News at 5 with Belinda Hagen.
Also tonight, anger erupts as Melbourne's mayor reveals plans to steal our tour down under, the same way they took our Grand Prix. Tourists worried about the rising Murray, turning away from Riverland holidays in droves. And later, environmentally effective car sharing comes to Adelaide.
The car sitting in the carport used to be costing us, $40, $50 a week. So now, we sold the car. Now it costs us maybe $20 a week on average.
5 car share locations have been set up around Adelaide. Details later. Good evening. Nearly every school district in the state will be affected by the latest creation of super schools. The changes will now be forced on communities whether they want them or not. And the Education Union says the quality of teaching will suffer.
The state's education landscape is about to be dominated by so-called super schools, and bigger isn't necessarily better.
Looking ahead at what's in sport with Mark Aston now, and Mark, Crows coach Neil Craig not making any long-term plans.
Yeah, not only that, Belinda, he's told Ian Shuttleworth on the Gold Coast that he'd consider a position as Director of Coaching. Also tonight, David Hussey offers some advice to his captain, Michael Clark, later in the news hour.
Coming up, officials release the report into last month's Christmas Island boat disaster. Israel draws condemnation after it releases a report into the raid on Gaza-bound aid ships. And how the Queen hasn't even met Kate Middleton's parents, even though the marriage is just months away. Well, after a relatively mild summer so far, the heat is being turned up. Jane Riley, it looks like the return to school will be a hot one.
Yes, Belinda, our summer hasn't had its usual sting, but after 36 tomorrow, temperatures will top in the high 20s later in the bulletin.
Also ahead, former Neighbours star Totty Goldsmith done for dope at a dance party.
On our very first program at 6 tonight, a one-on-one interview with Julia Gillard on not just the floods but her own performance. From the Middle East, young girls prepared to kill for the cause, plus what it takes to get the nation's greatest military gong. Join us at 6 p.m.
And amphetamines. We'll review the day's top stories next, but first Rebecca Morse joins me at the desk. Beck, what's on in tonight's evening news?
Belinda, we have exclusive figures showing an alarming jump in the number of South Australians drug driving and the surprising new way the ambulance service plans to dramatically cut response times. Those stories in the evening news coming up at 6:30.
Thanks, Beck. Well, still to come in 10's news at 5, a truck driver dies of thirst in the outback. A huge plunge in tourism as people shy away from Riverland holidays because of the rising Murray. And thousands of riders joined Lance Armstrong in Brisbane for a cycling challenge to raise money for flood victims.
And we're on the Gold Coast with the Crows and speak exclusively with Neil Craig about expectations for this season and key players to watch. Hi folks, Australia's middle order hero David Hussey believes the out-of-form Michael Clark is simply trying too hard with the bat. A lack of recent runs and the overuse of Twitter also has some questioning his commitment to the game. Hussey helped steer Australia to victory over England at the SCG last night, and he wants to serve up another win on Wednesday, on Saturday night. And Belinda, that should be an absolute beauty.
Absolutely. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Thank you, Mark. Well, the weather's next with Jane Riley, but first, here's George Negus. Before we go to the weather, Rebecca Morse joins me with details of tonight's evening news.
Belinda, we reveal the new mode of transport Adelaide paramedics hope will slash response times. And we'll have more of our exclusive interview with Crows coach Neil Craig. That's coming up at 6:30.
Thanks, Beck. Now we're going to cool down with Jane Riley.
Adelaide's maximum today was 27.3 degrees after a low last night of 19.9, about 20 to 7 this morning, and currently it's 25 sunny degrees here at the Marion Swimming Centre. Taking a look at the outer and metropolitan area today, it was pretty mild as well, getting to 25 degrees at a couple of the centres and 25 at Noongar, 27 at Elizabeth and just 20 at Mount Barker. Around the state, maximum temperatures were below average in the south and hot in the north, ranging from 19 degrees at Robe to 45 at Oodnadatta. Interstate today, more rain in Darwin and fine for the other centres. Looking at the satellite photograph, a weak trough moved across the state, dropping the temperature today. Tomorrow, winds will go around to a northerly and it will become hot in most centres. Then on Thursday, another change will keep the mercury in the high 20s until the weekend, which is expected to warm up. Now, the greatest likelihood of rain tomorrow will be over Western Australia. Interstate tomorrow, showers in Hobart, Melbourne, Sydney and Townsville. A stormy day in Darwin and thunderstorms for Broome. Top temperatures for our state tomorrow, ranging from 24 degrees in Mount Gambier up to a very hot 47 in Coober Pedy. For the outer metropolitan area tomorrow, it will be hot. Elizabeth looking at a top of 37, Murray Bridge 35 and 34 for both Mount Barker and Noongar. On local waters, a strong wind warning has been issued with southeast to northeast winds at 8 to 13 knots, but they'll go round to a south to southwesterly, picking up to 20 to 30 knots in the afternoon and seas rising to 2.5 metres. Now, the state forecast for tomorrow includes a strong wind warning for the far west coast and Gulf waters. It will be fine apart from possible light showers about the southeast and Kangaroo Island. Winds will be north to northwesterly ahead of a south to southeasterly change. Total fire bans have been declared tomorrow for the northwest and northeast pastoral districts, west coast, eastern Eyre Peninsula, Flinders, mid-north and the Riverland. For Adelaide now, it's going to be a hot day tomorrow, getting up to 36 degrees after a low tonight of 17. Further ahead, milder conditions on Australia Day, which is Wednesday, and temperatures in the high teens for the high 20s for the end of the week. And then on the weekend, 36 degrees on Sunday and 36 next Monday. We're a little bit noisy here at Belinda. I'm sure the mums and dads are hoping the kids get off to school on Monday. Back to you in the studio.
Looks like a beautiful place for a dip. Thank you, Jane. Stay with us now for 6 p.m. with George Negus. We'll have more local news at 6:30. Thanks for your company. Good night.